Sarah has a life that looks like a masterpiece on Instagram. She has the executive title, the sleek European car, and a mortgage on a home that smells of expensive candles and success. But as she sits there in the middle of the night, Sarah feels like she's suffocating. She realized today that if she stopped working tomorrow, her masterpiece would crumble in less than 90 days. She is a high-earning prisoner to her own existence, trading every ounce of her mental health to maintain a lifestyle she doesn't even have time to enjoy. She feels like she needs a miracle, a lottery win, or a massive inheritance to ever feel truly safe. What Sarah doesn't know is that the door to her cage isn't locked by a lack of millions. It's locked by a misunderstanding of a very quiet, very simple piece of math. She thinks she's fighting a battle of more, when the secret to her freedom actually lies in the power of enough. Hi, I'm Rabbi Soul. Together, we'll decode the ultimate laws of money, helping you understand the root of wealth and master the financial game. We've been sold a version of financial independence that feels like a fairy tale. We are told that retirement is a destination you reach only after 40 years of grueling labor, or after you've accumulated a mountain of gold so high that it defies gravity. We treat freedom like it's a luxury item, something reserved for the ultra-lucky or the ultra-greedy. Because the numbers we see in the media, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, feel so unattainable, most of us just give up before we even start. We decide that if we can't have the private jet version of freedom, we might as well just keep spending our paychecks today to numb the pain of the forever work cycle. But here is the truth that the consumer economy doesn't want you to realize: financial independence is not a fixed number. It is a ratio. It is a relationship between what you cost and what you own. We struggle because we focus entirely on the numerator, how much we can earn, while completely ignoring the denominator, how much we actually need to live a meaningful life. We've been conditioned to believe that minimalism is about deprivation, about living in a white box with one spoon and no joy. But in the world of financial psychology, minimalism is something else entirely. It is a superpower. It is the most effective way to shrink the size of the mountain you have to climb. You don't need a miracle to be free. You need a quiet understanding of the math of your own life. To understand how you can walk away from the stress that is currently keeping you awake at night, we have to look at something called the Rule of 25. This isn't a complex formula hidden in a textbook. It's a foundational principle of behavioral finance derived from decades of market data. The Rule of 25 states that in order to be financially independent, meaning you never have to work for a paycheck again, you need to accumulate an invested nest egg that is 25 times your annual expenses. The financial independence number is equal to annual expenses multiplied by 25. Now, on the surface, that sounds like just another big number. But look closer at the variables. If Sarah needs $100,000 a year to maintain her executive lifestyle, her freedom number is $2.5 million. That feels heavy. That feels like a lifetime of stress. But if Sarah looks at her life and realizes that $40,000 of that spending is actually stress consumption, the expensive car she bought to feel better about her commute, the takeout she orders because she's too tired to cook, the luxury vacations she takes just to reset from a job she hates, the math starts to change. If she moves toward a more intentional, minimalist way of living and finds that she is actually happier, spending $60,000 a year, her freedom number drops to $1.5 million. She just earned $1 million not by working harder, but by needing less. This is where the psychology of freedom meets the reality of the market. The rule of 25 is the inverse of what's known as the 4% rule. This rule suggests that if you invest your money in a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds, you can safely withdraw 4% of that total every year, adjusted for inflation, and your money will likely last for 30 years or more. It is a bridge built out of compound interest, but the bridge only works if you know how long it needs to be. Most people are building a bridge to nowhere because they have no idea what they actually cost. We pay our bills, we buy our groceries, and we treat the leftover money as spending money. But every dollar you add to your annual cost of living doesn't just cost you $1 today. It adds $25 to the amount you need to be free. When you buy a subscription you don't use, or upgrade to a house with an extra room you don't need, you aren't just spending money, you are signing up for more months or even years of mandatory labor. Think about your life right now. Think about the recurring costs that have crept in over the last 5 years. Did they actually make you happier? Did the bigger television or the slightly faster car actually change the quality of your Tuesday mornings? Or did they just increase the weight of the invisible backpack you carry every day? This is the quiet math. It's the realization that every time you simplify your life, you aren't losing anything. You are gaining time. You are shrinking the distance between where you are and the moment you can finally say no. The turning point in Sarah's journey, and perhaps in yours, happens the moment you stop seeing money as a way to buy things and start seeing it as a way to buy time. It's a profound shift in identity. You move from being a consumer, someone who defines their success by the volume of their possessions, to being an accumulator of freedom. When you realize that your freedom number is actually within reach, the entire world starts to look different. The high-stress promotion with the tiny raise and the massive increase in responsibility suddenly looks like a bad deal. The expensive dinner out feels less like a treat and more like an hour of your life you're handing over to someone else. You begin to experience what I call the safety of enough. This is the realization that enough is a fortress. Once you know your number, the world loses its power to frighten you. You realize that you don't need to win a war against the economy. You just need to win the war against your own desires for status. This shift fundamentally changes your decision-making because it removes the desperation. When you know you are on a path toward a specific, achievable number, you can breathe again. You can make choices based on your values rather than your fears. Money stops being a source of anxiety and starts being a source of air. You realize that freedom isn't about being rich, it's about being unbuyable. So, how do we begin to apply this quiet math to the reality of your life today? It starts with a radical, non-judgmental audit. I want you to look at your bank statements from the last 90 days, but don't look at them as numbers. Look at them as life bushers. If you earn $30 an hour after taxes and you spent $300 on a night out, you didn't spend $300. You spent 10 hours of your finite life. Ask yourself, was that experience worth 10 hours of sitting at your desk? Sometimes the answer is yes, but often the answer is a quiet, painful no. The next step is to find your core cost of happiness. Strip away the performative spending. Strip away the things you buy because you think you're supposed to. What does it actually cost for you to be healthy, safe, and connected to the people you love? Once you have that annual number, multiply it by 25. That is your North Star. That is the point where the world can no longer tell you what to do. From there, you begin to mind the gap. The gap is the difference between what you earn and what you actually cost. The wider you can make that gap, the faster you travel toward your number. But here's the key. Don't make the gap wider by suffering. Make it wider by realizing that much of what you've been told you need is actually just clutter. Minimalism isn't about having less. It's about making room for more of what matters. It's about realizing that a walk in the park with a friend is often more valuable than a luxury meal, and it costs nothing. Finally, start investing the difference immediately. Don't wait until you have a large sum. Every $100 you put into a diversified, low-cost index fund is a small soldier working to buy you an hour of freedom in the future. You are building a machine that will eventually replace your labor. Every time you choose to invest rather than consume, you are casting a vote for your future self. You are deciding that your freedom at 50 is more important than a new gadget at 30. If you feel like Sarah tonight, if you feel like the weight of your life is more than you can carry, I want you to know that there is a way out. You aren't stuck, and you aren't failing. You've just been following a script that was written by people who want you to keep working so you can keep spending. The math of freedom is quiet, and it is patient. It doesn't require you to be a genius or a shark. It just requires you to be honest with yourself about what you truly need to be happy. It requires you to have the courage to live a life that might look smaller to others, but feels infinitely larger to you. As you go to sleep tonight, or as you start your day, try to look at your world through the lens of the Rule of 25. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you are saying yes to your own independence. You are moving toward a day when you can wake up and realize that your time belongs entirely to you. Take it one day at a time. Don't worry about the mountain. Just focus on the step right in front of you. Progress is more important than perfection. You're doing better than you think, and the quiet math is already on your side.